Every morning we are given a gift, a fresh start, a new chance, a clean slate. Yet so many of us rush into the day burdened by yesterday's worries, distracted by today's noise, and unprepared for tomorrow's challenges. But there is a way, a simple act, that can reshape your entire life. It doesn't require money, fame, or luck. It only takes a decision, a choice you make before the sun is high and the world starts pulling at your mind. It's something you do before the phone rings, before the emails flood in, before life gets loud. And if you do this one thing every single morning, it has the power to shift your mindset, fuel your purpose, and move you closer to the person you were meant to be. Each new day begins with a sunrise, a quiet whisper from the heavens that we have been given another chance to rise, to choose, to begin again. But what do we do with that chance? How do we start our mornings? Do we wake up in a rush, chasing the clock, reaching for our phones before we even thank God for breath in our lungs? Or do we pause, even just for a moment, to ground ourselves in something greater? My friend, the way you start your morning has the power to shape your entire life. There is strength in a morning ritual, not just in the act itself, but in the discipline it creates and the focus it brings. We live in a world that demands so much of us. Every day is filled with distractions, pressure, expectations, and responsibilities that pull us in 1,000 directions. But before all of that begins, there is a sacred window, a moment of silence, stillness, and decision. That is your opportunity. That is the moment where you set the tone for your day, your mindset, your energy, and ultimately your life. One habit, one ritual, repeated every morning, can transform who you are and where you're going. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be long, but it must be intentional. Think about a soldier preparing for battle. He does not just stumble into the field unarmed and unready. He prepares, he trains, he sharpens his focus. In the same way, when you rise in the morning, you are stepping into a world that will test your patience, your faith, your endurance, and your purpose. A morning ritual is your preparation. It is where your heart aligns with truth, where your mind is renewed, and your spirit is strengthened. Some may ask, what kind of ritual? Is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it exercise? Journaling? Reading? Reflecting? Walking in the quiet of dawn? The answer is yes. It can be any of those things. What matters most is that it is done with purpose. That you begin your day not by default, but by design. That you create space to remember who you are, why you're here, and what truly matters. When you do that, your day doesn't just happen to you. You take ownership of it. You rise above the noise, the chaos, the confusion, and you walk into your day with clarity. There's something sacred about the early morning. The air is still. The noise hasn't yet begun. The distractions are asleep. It is in that quiet place where you find yourself again. And not just yourself, but something beyond yourself. You feel the breath in your chest. You sense the calling on your life. You feel gratitude rising, even if the day ahead holds challenges. Because you know who you are, and you know who walks with you. This one habit, repeated daily, begins to build momentum. At first it may feel small, just 5 or 10 minutes. But day by day, it compounds. Your focus sharpens. Your attitude improves. Your resilience grows. The way you handle stress changes. The way you treat others changes. You become more grounded, more present, more grateful. And slowly but surely, that morning ritual becomes the anchor of your life. Too many people wait for motivation to come find them. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. But change doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who rise, who choose, who show up even when they don't feel like it. And that's what a morning ritual teaches you. It teaches you to act out of commitment, not convenience, to pursue growth, not comfort, to live with purpose, not passivity. It's not about checking a box. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about transforming from the inside out. It's about creating a habit that lifts you from despair to hope, from confusion to clarity, from wandering to direction. It's about reminding yourself every single morning that your life has meaning, your day has value, and you are not here by accident. You are here for a purpose. And that purpose begins before the world even knows you're awake. And yes, there will be days when you're tired. Days when it feels easier to hit the snooze button. Days when the weight of life presses heavy on your chest. But that is exactly when the ritual matters most. Because that is when the habit takes over. That is when your discipline carries you through. That is when you push past feelings and stand on the foundation you've built. Day by day, morning by morning. And soon others begin to notice. They see a light in your eyes, a strength in your step, a peace in your voice. They ask what's different. And you smile. Because you know, it started with one choice, one moment, one habit, every morning. And that one habit changed everything. Because when you begin each day in alignment with your values, your faith and your vision, you no longer live by reaction. You live by intention. You no longer follow the world's noise. You walk in your own calling. And you no longer wait for life to change. You rise each day and change it yourself. You take back your mornings. And in doing so, you take back your life, your focus, your power, and your purpose. And it all begins with that one sacred moment. Before the day begins, when your heart is still, your mind is open, and your spirit is ready to receive the strength you need for the road ahead, and to walk forward in faith, knowing that the habit you choose each morning is not just a routine, but a declaration of who you are becoming, and what kind of life you are building, day by day, with grace, with purpose, with unwavering resolve, to become more than what you were yesterday, and to step fully into the promise of who you are meant to be. There is something powerful about how you begin. The first step, the first thought, the first move of the day, carries more weight than we often realize. It is not just a moment in time. It is the foundation for everything that follows. When the sun rises and the world stirs to life, you are given a gift, a fresh canvas on which to paint the story of your day. And what you do in that first hour, that sacred beginning, will either set you on the path of purpose, or leave you drifting in the current of distraction and confusion. We live in a time where the demands are many and the noise is loud. The moment we wake, we are pulled in a dozen directions. Messages, headlines, responsibilities, worries. But before all of that, before the world has its say, you have a choice, a moment to start strong, a moment to choose what matters most. This is the morning move that sets the tone for success. Not success as the world defines it with fame or fortune, but true success, the kind that brings peace to your soul, strength to your steps, and fire to your purpose. Starting strong does not mean starting with speed. It means starting with clarity. It means waking up with the awareness that your life is not an accident, that today is not a random event, and that you were created with a purpose far greater than just getting through the day. That first move in the morning, whatever it is, should be sacred. Whether it is kneeling in quiet reflection, stepping outside into the stillness of the dawn, moving your body to stir your spirit, or reading words that anchor your soul, it should be something that aligns your heart, your mind, and your mission. Because when you start strong, you step into the day with direction. You are no longer reacting to life. You are leading it. You are not being pulled by the chaos. You are anchored in truth. The difference between a day led by distraction and a day led by purpose often comes down to how it begins. That's why the morning is not just important. It is essential. Consider the builder who lays the cornerstone of a great structure. If the first stone is laid with care, with precision, then everything that follows has the chance to stand firm. But if that first stone is off, even slightly, the whole structure can lean, crack, or fall. Your morning move is that cornerstone. It sets your frame, your focus, your energy. It decides whether you step out in confidence or in confusion. Some believe they do not have time for a morning ritual. But time is not found. It is made. And what you prioritize reflects what you value. 5 minutes of focus can outpower 50 minutes of frenzy. It is not about how long you spend. It is about how deep you go. It is about making a conscious decision that before the world gets your attention, your spirit gets your devotion. And there's something else, something deep and often unseen. When you choose to start strong every day, something begins to shift inside you. You begin to build trust with yourself. You prove, day after day, that you can show up, even when it's hard, that you can choose discipline over distraction, that you can hold to your values, not just in grand moments, but in the quiet corners of your morning. And that, my friend, is the soil in which character grows. In those early hours, when the sky is painted with the soft hues of morning, and the air still carries the hush of the night, you have a meeting with destiny. You are not just brushing your teeth, making coffee, or lacing your shoes. You are stepping into alignment with who you were meant to be. You are saying to yourself, and to the world, that you are not here to drift. You are here to lead. You are not here to survive. You are here to thrive. There will be days when the bed feels heavy, and the burden of life tries to keep you down. But that is when starting strong matters most. That is when the morning move becomes not just a ritual, but a rescue. When your mind feels weak, your morning move strengthens it. When your heart feels weary, your morning move revives it. When your soul feels scattered, your morning move gathers it. Because in that one act of intention, you are choosing life. You are choosing growth. You are choosing to begin in strength, not stumble into stress. And here's the truth. Success is not found in the moment of applause. It is built in the quiet, unseen moments of preparation. It is built when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one but you and your maker know what is happening. And that is the beauty of starting strong. It is not for show. It is for soul. It is not about what others see. It is about what you carry inside. So what will your morning move be? Will you rise and immediately reach for the noise of the world? Or will you reach for truth? Will you fill your mind with stress? Or will you fill it with strength? Will you begin with anxiety? Or will you begin with awareness? You have that choice. Every single morning, you are given that sacred invitation to begin with power, with intention, with faith. And as you do, something begins to change, not just in your day, but in your life. You find yourself more patient with others, more present in moments, more courageous in challenges. You find yourself building a life that is not swayed by circumstances, but rooted in purpose. You become someone others can lean on, someone who carries light into dark places, someone who knows where they're going, because they start every day, grounded in what matters most. And it all begins not with a grand gesture, not with a breakthrough moment, but with a decision made in the quiet of the morning. To start strong, to move with intention, to begin in alignment with the deepest truths of your life, and to let that one decision ripple into everything you do throughout the day, forming a life built not on chance, but on conviction, not on noise but on purpose, not on fear, but on faith. And in that place of strength, you discover that the secret to success is not in the striving, but in the starting. Not in waiting for the world to give you direction, but in stepping out with your own. And you begin to carry that strength into every room, every conversation, every challenge, because you chose to meet the morning with resolve, with vision, and with the unwavering belief that your life is meant to rise with the dawn, and carry light into the world, each and every day, through that one strong beginning that changes everything. There comes a time in every person's life when they must ask themselves a deep and stirring question. Am I truly living? Or am I merely surviving? That question, my friend, begins not in the middle of the day, when the world is rushing, not in the evening when the body is weary, but in the morning, in the stillness, in the silence, when the world is just beginning to stir. Because how you greet the morning determines how you carry the day, and how you carry the day becomes how you live your life. Change your morning, and you change your life. There is a divine rhythm built into the rising of the sun. It is no accident that light breaks through the darkness every single day. That is not just nature's cycle. It is a message to the soul, a whisper from above that says, no matter what yesterday held, today is a new beginning, a fresh mercy, a clean slate. But it is what you do with that slate that matters. You cannot stumble into greatness. You cannot drift into discipline. You must decide. And that decision begins the moment you open your eyes. Because the moment your feet hit the ground, you are either stepping into purpose or stepping into passivity. And the difference between those two directions lies in discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is not a burden. It is a gift, a holy invitation to align your actions with your deepest convictions. It is the structure that sets your spirit free. It is the guardrail that keeps your soul on course when the winds of life try to pull you away. And it begins with your morning. What you do in those first moments is a declaration of who you are and what you believe. If you reach for distraction, you'll find it. But if you reach for meaning, you'll find that too. That is the power you hold each and every morning. Too many people wait for motivation. But motivation is a guest that doesn't always show up. Discipline is a resident that lives within you, if you will choose to awaken it. And it is in the morning that discipline is either nourished or neglected. It is in the morning that you teach your mind who is in charge, that you teach your heart what to pursue, that you teach your body to serve the vision of your life. And when you do this not once, but every single day, something begins to shift, slowly, steadily, surely. You are building a life that does not depend on emotion, but on principle, not on chance, but on choice. And that kind of life, oh, that kind of life, is unshakable. The world will offer you 1,000 ways to fill your morning. News, noise, scrolling, stress. But the soul longs for something more. It longs for stillness, for strength, for intention. That's why the first discipline of the day is often the hardest but the most sacred. To rise before the noise, to breathe before the rush, to choose clarity over clutter. You do not need hours. You need alignment. You need to anchor your spirit before the winds of life try to toss it about. And when you build that morning altar, whether it is 5 minutes or 50, you are doing more than preparing for a good day. You are preparing for a powerful life. There is a principle older than time itself. What is sown in the morning bears fruit in the evening. If you sow peace, you reap calm. If you sow vision, you reap direction. If you sow strength, you reap endurance. But you must sow. You must choose. Because the harvest you long for in life does not come from random moments. It comes from repeated discipline. And the morning is the soil where that discipline takes root. It will not always be easy. There will be mornings when the pillow feels too soft, the covers too warm, the motivation too faint. But those are the mornings when discipline matters most. Those are the mornings when you rise, not because you feel like it, but because you've committed to something greater than feeling. You've committed to becoming. And becoming is a process forged in the fires of discipline. You do not need to be perfect. You simply need to be persistent. You see, true transformation is not found in big loud moments. It is found in the quiet repetition of choosing what matters, again and again, day after day, until the small acts become sacred rituals, until the discipline becomes delight, until your mornings are not something you dread, but something you depend on, because they are no longer just part of your schedule. They are part of your identity. You are no longer someone who watches life pass by. You are someone who wakes up and says, "This is the day I've been given, and I will meet it with strength, with purpose, with faith." And then as the days become weeks, and the weeks become months, you will look back and see that everything has changed. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger, because you learned the sacred truth, that when you change your morning, you change your life. Not just the life others see, but the life you carry in your soul. A life of direction, a life of purpose, a life built not on fleeting feelings, but on daily discipline. And that, dear soul, is where the breakthrough begins. In that one quiet choice, in that one consistent act, in that moment when the rest of the world is asleep, and you decide to rise, when the rest of the world is distracted, and you decide to focus, when the rest of the world is drifting, and you decide to lead. That is the power of the morning. That is the power of discipline. That is the moment your life begins to rise, with the sun, steady, strong, unshaken, because you are no longer a victim of the day. You are its author. And in that sacred beginning, you are unlocking not just a better schedule, but a higher calling, a deeper peace, and a stronger life built one morning at a time, through the quiet, steady, unwavering power of daily discipline. that lifts your soul, anchors your purpose, and changes everything. So I urge you, start tomorrow with purpose. Rise not just to exist, but to live with direction. Let your mornings become sacred ground, where strength is built, peace is planted, and purpose is awakened. Because when you command your morning, you claim your day. And when you claim your day, you shape your destiny. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The life you long for is not found in someday. It is born in the choices of today. So begin, rise, choose, and watch how one morning at a time, you transform your entire life.